Drafting in the first few rounds is easy, right? You know all the big names, you know what to do. What do you do with those later rounds? I'm going to give you five players right now that are going outside the top 100 that you can draft to help win your leagues right now. All right. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the FF Face Off. Yes, my name is Michael Hoff. Follow me on X at the FF Realist. But most importantly, I'm giving you five players outside the top 100 that you can draft in your fantasy football leagues to help you win a championship. We're going to get into it right now, and we're going to start with a wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be Josh Downs right now, the wide receiver 48, pick 104, going right around the eighth round or so. Listen, I will preface this by saying Downs is more suitable for a half point or for a full point per reception league. Yes, Alec Pierce did get his $114 million deal. He is returning from an ankle procedure that kept him out of OTAs. While he's expected at some point, he's expected back at some point during training camp. Michael Pittman has been traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we all know, during the offseason. Pittman represented 21% of the Colts passing targets last year. That's a pretty big chunk up for grabs. While that target share being available is juicy, it's also worth noting that Downs had 85 targets last year. Important also to note that Downs also had 7 games with 10 or more points last season. That is the same as Jordan Addison, who is being drafted ahead of him, but is not, but he's also competing now with Juwan Jennings over there in Minnesota. So I like the situation here for Downs, and also what really makes Downs really cash in as a sleeper. It's going to be the touchdowns. We're going to need the touchdowns. That's going to be the make or break sort of thing right there. He had 5 touchdowns in 2024, 4 last year. So we need the 4 touchdowns for sure. 5 would be ideal. If we can get anything above 5, which again we should be able to, because you know while Tyler Warren should see an increase on his 16% of the team touchdowns, Pittman, again, we referenced Pittman. Pittman had 28% of the team's receiving touchdowns. So there are touchdowns available. So Tyler Warren, yes, he's going to score more touchdowns, but there are some up for grabs. A lot of skill position players outside the top 100 require opportunity, and opportunity is most certainly there for Downs. The big thing, I was fumbling on my words a little bit there. We need the touchdowns. So this is why I say, we're gonna look at those 85 targets from last year. That's why half point, full point works very well for a Josh Downs. If we're talking standard, he might not be the best option. Fire any players that you think you might want in, say, a standard league outside the top 100, and I'll be happy to answer you and let you know my thoughts. But for now, we'll get into the second player on our list going outside the top 100, and let's sprinkle in a quarterback. It's Jared Goff, and, I know, like, people see Jared Goff and they're like, "Yeah, duh, yeah, thanks, we should draft Jared Goff, very good." I mean, but Jared Goff is the epitome of waiting on the quarterback position right now, going off the board as the QB 15. Last year, he was the QB 9, and he's currently going off the board, as I just said, the 15th quarterback. And by the way, for whatever reason, this is down from his ADP back in May, when he was going off the board as the QB9. So he's dropped quite a bit during that time. Goff had 6 games with at least 20 points and only 1 week with less than 10 points last season. Over the last 2 seasons, Goff leads the NFL with 12 games of 300 passing yards. So if you're in a league that's giving you extra points for passing yards, I'm in plenty of leagues that do so, you can get more points there with a Jared Goff. Oh, and by the way, there are the touchdowns here. Goff is the only quarterback. So, the Josh Allens of the world, you know, whomever else you want at the top of that draft, if you're into Jalen Hurts, it shouldn't be, but whatever. All these quarterbacks, the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, even Matthew Stafford last year, Goff is the only quarterback with at least 30 touchdown passes in each of the last 3 seasons. So, and again, QB 15. I got to keep saying it. QB 15. As if all of this isn't enough, they say that the best ability is availability. They say that for a lot of skill positions. It's also useful for quarterbacks. Goff has not missed a game in the last 4 seasons. So Jared Goff continues to produce. I would be more than happy getting him in a one quarterback league without a problem. So Jared Goff, again, my second player who's going outside the top 100 that you can get in your drafts. Pick 110 right around the ninth round. Let's go to the next round and let's change positions. I've given you a wide receiver. I've given you a quarterback. Let's give you a running back. If I could pull up the graphic here, we're going to go with Jakari Krosky Merritt, the RB 41 off the board, pick 120. That is the 10th round. Like I said, one round later than Jared Goff. The fantasy football community put a considerable amount of hype on Corey Krosky Merritt last year. And while the results didn't really match the hype, he still managed to finish as the RB 32 with 873 yards of total offense and 8 touchdowns. So maybe folks expected higher. I mean, especially the dynasty community, we always want to skyrocket these rookies to almost unachievable heights. We saw it happen to Marvin Harrison at a devastating, absolutely devastating that rookie year for him. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt obviously didn't come with the same track record of or the same expectations of Marvin Harrison, but it was still high. Be that as it may, over 800 yards of offense, 8 touchdowns. And now the Commanders appear to be leaning on him going into this year. I mean, they haven't officially said that he is going to be the guy, but I mean, they've added Rashad White, so Rashad White will be competing back there. But Krosky Merritt's still listed as the number one back for now, assuming that he can hold on to that through training camp and through the preseason. Dan Quinn had said that the Commanders are ready to give Krosky Merritt a majority of the backfield work. It's just a matter of him going out there and earning it. I added that last part of going out and earning it. You know, he's already said that the running back, the sophomore running back, is quote unquote hungry for it. So do you want Corey Krosky Merritt as your RB1 or your RB2? No, you don't want that. But we're talking about picks outside the top 100. These are not players that are starting for you every single week of the year, but they are players that if you find a diamond in the rough, they could be starting and contributing. And this way, when you need the player, he's there. You have a bye week with one of your top backs, say a Christian McCaffrey or Jameer Gibbs, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is there. You have an injury, God forbid, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt could be there. I think if you're talking about the kind of backs that are going around that spot, I mean, like he's being sandwiched in between the two Vikings running backs, Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. I'll take Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt every single time between those three running backs. I mean, so we should be getting an opportunity now. I will say this. Keep this in mind. If we enter a camp situation where Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is fumbling the ball a lot, let's say he's doing something terrible in terms of the pass protection, maybe that could force Washington's hands to want to go with, go with a Rashad White as a lead back. So keep an eye on that. But as we head into training camp here, as of this recording, he is number one on the depth chart, and he is going outside the top 100. So Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is a player I like in this spot. Let's go to our fourth player on the list. I've given you a player from the wide receiver, from the quarterback, the running back. Now we'll give you a tight end. And tight end, kind of the same thing with the quarterback position. You can shop for the top. You can go ahead, you can get yourself the Trey McBride, you can get yourself the Brock Bowers. A lot of people love Colson Loveland this year. Tyler Warren obviously is another name we hear a lot. But if you want to wait on the tight end position, I like drafting Dallas Goedert, currently going off the board as a tight end 13 for the Philadelphia Eagles, 121st pick. 121st. Yeah, did I say that right? I said that right. I'm going to be okay. It's late. I'm tired. I'm recording this late. Right now, going in the 10th round, much like Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Dallas Goedert, by the way, finished last season as a tight end 4, but he's coming off the board as a tight end 13. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. I mean, he also averaged a career high 10.3 points in half point formats last year. And for whatever reason, he's back. He's right behind Oronde Gadsden in terms of ADP. This makes no sense to me. How does the tight end 4 sit behind Oronde Gadsden in ADP? And yes, we could talk about the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles did draft themselves a tight end, but to me, I mean, them going ahead and drafting Stowers, that's telling me more so that that this is Dallas Goedert's swan song with the Philadelphia Eagles. This is his final year. That doesn't tell me that that Stowers is going to be stealing all of the receptions or stealing all the touchdowns. Will he vulture a touchdown here or maybe there? Yes, but he's not going to stunt the growth of Dallas Goedert to the point where he should be being drafted off the board as a tight end 13. You're going to get a tight end 13 that has the potential to be a top 5 tight end. And if you say no to that, then why did he finish as the top 4 tight end he finished tight end 4 last year? Mind you, as I'm telling you all this, AJ Brown is now off of the Philadelphia Eagles, as we well know. I mean, we talked a lot about Josh Downs and no more Michael Pittman. Well, AJ Brown is leaving. He's vacating 121 targets from the Philadelphia Eagles. Those are now going to be up for grabs. Oh, and 7 touchdowns are going to be up for grabs. So Goddard will be there. Yes, Devonta Smith will be there. Yes, Lemon will be there. We are going to see other players absorb these things, but it's still there for Dallas Goddard. No, by the way, Dallas Goddard had 11 touchdowns last year. That was more than his 3 previous seasons combined. So we've already got those. We've got more up for grabs, and we have no more Kevin Patullo in Philadelphia. And yes, obviously Kevin Patullo did help somewhere. He helped Dallas Goedert, but I just think the offense is going to run a lot better, a lot smoother in Philadelphia, at least for the first half of the year, at least, because the Eagles always tend to fall off at the back end of the year. So maybe you can even trade Dallas Goedert later in the year at some point. But I love Dallas Goedert in this spot. If you're waiting on tight end, much like Jared Goff, I think Dallas Goedert is a great get at the tight end position. We will now go to my 5th player going outside the top 100. I've given you one from each position, so I've got to double up somewhere. We're going to double up at wide receiver. And listen, this might be a name that you don't hear a ton of. Doesn't come from the sexiest fantasy team. I mentioned a couple of these teams so far. They are teams that have a lot of fantasy production around them. We're going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. And no, it's not. Obviously, it's not a Brock Bowers. Obviously, it's not an Ashton Genty. Those players are going well before the 100th pick of the draft. But Trey Tucker going off the board as a wide receiver 64 for the Las Vegas Raiders, currently slated as pick 165 in the 14th round. But, listen, I get it. It's not the sexiest team. It probably turns you off the moment I said Las Vegas Raiders. But Trey Tucker finished last year as the wide receiver 37, yet he's being drafted as the wide receiver 64. And you also want to look at what the Raiders did during the offseason. They didn't really add a ton to the wide receiver position. Trey Tucker is listed. If you look up depth charts right now, Trey Tucker is the number 1 wide receiver. Tucker's 2025 season was inflated by a week 3 performance, yes, where he caught 8 of 9 targets for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns. But it's also worth noting he did have 92 targets. 92 targets for the player being drafted 165th on the board. We're looking for opportunity. We're rolling the dice in this spot, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. Hopefully get a player that's going to stumble in to volume. You've got one right here in Trey Tucker. Again, not the sexiest offense, but that was last year. Now we have Kubiak. Kubiak was the apple of a lot of teams' eyes. That was who teams wanted for an offense to lead an offense, and now you have that. We'll see who's at quarterback, even if it's Fernando Mendoza, if it's Kirk Cousins. I think it's irrelevant who the quarterback's going to be. Trey Tucker's still going to get his targets. The 2 wide receivers being drafted behind Tucker are Travis Hunter and Trey Harris, and they combined for less targets than Tucker had last year. Yes, I understand that Hunter had the injury last year, so he was out for a lot of the year, but you're not really going to rely on him to get. We're not going to see a world where Travis Hunter's getting 92 targets. It's just not going to happen. You can get that with Trey Tucker, though. So I think Trey Tucker, again, going off the board as a wide receiver 64. And I have to say it again. Off the board, wide receiver 64, finished as the wide receiver 37. I'm not sure how much more of a green light you need to let you know that this is a good get. He might even be, depending on your league, depending on the format, depending on the amount of bench spots, Trey Tucker might not even be drafted in some formats. So keep that in mind as well. So I like this a lot. Again, I already mentioned it. Kubiak is now in town. So those are my five players I'm drafting outside the top 100. Again, Josh Down, wide receiver for the Colts, Jared Goff, quarterback for the Detroit Lions, Corey Krusky Merritt, the running back for the Washington Commanders, Dallas Goddard for the Philadelphia Eagles, and yes, last but not least, Trey Tucker, your wide receiver 64, coming off the board with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, folks, that's it. Those are my five players outside the top 100. Who are the top players that you're drafting outside the 100? Did I not mention a name that you want to know about? Are you thinking about a name? Fire it into the comments. I will gladly answer. We can have a discussion there on the YouTube. Feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. But, folks, until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.